Welcome back, my Better Life believers. It is me again, Taylor. It is good to see all of you, if I could see you. Um, Today we're going to start with my official videos. This is going to be something I will do consistently. So this story doesn't just end here, it is my personal experience videos. So this is like basically just a continuation of my past to present and to what I hope to expect in the future. So these videos aren't going to be too terribly long, so that way I can create a bunch of them. So keep you guys coming back. So here is my first personal experience video. This is a personal experience of some things that basically just my backstory of how I started out struggling with having parents and family members that are substance users, and how it affected me in a way to where I started to lose my sense of being who I am, what I want to be, and even losing my sounds very dramatic, losing my will to keep going. So once again, that's it's all personal as to why I started this channel to begin with. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. I grew up in a family, we were just normal family. I didn't have any siblings besides one half sibling. But, they were never really living in the same house as I was, because like I said, they were half sibling. We had different mothers. So, it was just me, my mother, and my father growing up. I actually don't have a strong memory from ages like maybe 5 and under. It gets hazy as I get older, and it starts clearing up, But I think that's kind of just an emotional block, to be completely honest with you. But with that aside, it had just been me, my mother, and my father. So my mother, she as she got older, she got diagnosed with a certain disease called fibromyalgia, which unfortunately I do now have as well. I will explain what that is in a later video probably, but let's just say it pretty much hindered her entire body. It I guess a short version of it, if you will, is, chronic muscle pain, memory loss, insomnia, so on and so forth, which I now struggle with every day. But so I can I guess, I kind of understand why she was always in pain. So, physically. But with that, she would go to the doctor. She would try to get something to relieve the pain, even just for a little while. And she started with painkillers, which in my perspective, that is a gateway drug. And so she did painkillers, which she just continuously did it. And it got to the point where she, as a parent, you're supposed to watch your kids, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to, make sure they're brushing their teeth, make sure they're, just normal parent stuff, normal parenting. And those aspects of my childhood just weren't there. She let her addiction and her substance use get the better of her, get the better of her parenting me, get the better of her being a wife, better sister, all this stuff that she was. And it was just very difficult to live with, to be completely honest. And it's not that I didn't love her or that I didn't see her as a mother figure, because I did. But it's hard when you are in such a young age, like me being 6, 7, 8, 9 years old in the original house, we were living at. It's the things that she did because of her, addiction. It just kids that age, me at that age, should not have seen that. There was things that she did, like, let's see, I will give an example. When I was, there would be times I would come home, or I would, either be coming home from school or it was on a weekend, and she would be walking, like, she would be, walking around just pacing aimlessly, or there was things like I walked past the bathroom one day and my mother had her hair in pigtails and she was just cutting at her pigtails. And I asked her, I said, "What are you doing?" I'm like probably in like third, fourth grade. And I was like, "What in the world are you doing?" And she's like, "I needed a haircut." And in my mind, I thought, why would you do that yourself? Why would you do that? Like, it was very stressful, like, to just kind of day in and day out watch her do these things that any not under the influence person would do. And me being as young as I was, I thought, I guess so. Like, just, I guess, do you? Because what am I to do? I couldn't, like, take the scissors out of her hand. I couldn't do anything, really. I just kind of had to walk away, avert my eyes, act like this was normal. But these kind of things started happening more and more as I got older. As time went on, she would, I'd come into the kitchen and she'd be doing just the most ridiculous thing. She would be burning pasta on the stove because she didn't put water in it. She would be microwaving Laffy Taffy because in her under the influence mind, she thought that it would make the Laffy Taffy softer if she put it in the microwave. But in turn, it actually damaged our microwave. It just baffled me as a kid. Like, I started to think, okay, maybe my mother's not the only mother that acts like this. But I would go to friends' houses and things like that, families' houses, and their mothers didn't act like that. And it really made me think, why does she act like that and not, teach me the correct ways of things? And so it just started, it was just almost everyday occurrence she would do something. And it wasn't just her. I can't completely say that my childhood was, ruined because of one person. And I can't hark on her because addiction is hard. It completely hijacks your brain. Your way of thinking is completely twisted and turned and made into something different. So her understanding of things was different from somebody else, like my friends' mothers or my cousins' moms, my aunts, my uncles, and so on and so forth. It was different. And it's the same thing with my father, too, at the time. But he was always gone. A lot of the time during my childhood, he was gone. He was an over-the-road truck driver. And he would come and go and just was there, not there, all that. So it's like I didn't have anybody to turn to. I would sit in my room and ponder, why does she do this? Why hasn't she taught me how to tie my shoes properly? Why can't she just sit and color with me normally? Why can't she just cook a normal meal and not burn it? Why is she mopping the floor with milk? Why was it okay to... Now, here's a really big story. This was a really big one, a really big experience that I had with her, and it was, I came home from school one day. She had taken every piece of material in our house, put it in a pile in the middle of the floor, and she had almost caught our house on fire because she had lit a fire around this like huge pile of material in the floor, like rugs, blankets, pillows, whatever you can think of. And she was just laying on top of it, completely in the nude. It was the most ungodly sight I have ever had to see. And I was like in fourth grade. And, and it didn't help her situation that, like I said, my father, he was never really there. But here's the thing. When he was there, he did nothing but make the situation worse. He himself was also a user. He is a substance user. That's when he was gone, he was doing his over-the-road truck driving business, but he was getting drugs on the side. And so as I, you know, so as her addiction progressed, she went from painkillers to heroin because, like I said previously, opioids are the gateway drug. They're one of the main gateway drugs. And so she just she can, she just couldn't get enough. It just wasn't enough for her. She had to have more. And so from my perspective, my father did introduce her to heroin. And that one time was it. She instantly thought that this was a little bit better. This was going to get me through. But it only skewed everything just a little bit more. And on top of that, my father was a very angry person. He was very abusive. He never was abusive towards me. That is something that I can say, but unfortunately that is not the case for my mother. It was a living hell, to put it frank. Like, I would see him throw her through doors. I would see him just punch her for like no reason. I couldn't tell you the reason. Like, they would yell about something for a minute and then boom, she was getting either thrown through a door or she was being punched for no reason. And it's awful sight to see because there was times I was just so scared and then so mad at the same time because I felt like my mom was, I felt like my mother was doing something that she shouldn't, but she was struggling with something. And I felt like he was just beating her up because she wasn't normal. But he wasn't either. They let their addiction skew their judgment, skew their parenting skills, and damage our household. Damage this little thing that we thought we had of a normal family. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as a normal family. I don't care how long you go through life believing that, but there's not. Everybody has their stories. Everybody has their everybody just has their own type of family and living situation. And unfortunately, this was mine. And there was even some really scary aspects of it too. There was I never knew what I was going to come home to after school. I couldn't bring friends over, even if I had a decent amount of friends, which I didn't. It was just very hard. I couldn't do anything. I just kind of sat in my room. I just kind of sat and played video games by myself. I kind of just had to do my own thing and just kind of shut out the world for a while because there was nothing there to help me. So as, time goes by, there's a lot more stuff happened. There was things I witnessed as a child of not just the physical abuse, but there was it was like a whole thing. And then the big thing happened in my childhood. The first big, experience in my childhood, which was I was 9.5 and it was like my last day of school. And from time to time, my mother would fall asleep and sleep for hours and then wake back up and she was fine. But she had fallen asleep on the truck ride home from my last day of school. It was just us three, heading home, and she had passed out in the car. And so us thinking, me and my father thinking, oh, she does this all the time. She's going to wake up, she's going to walk in the house, and we're just going to go along with our day. Well, time goes by, I fall asleep in my parents' bedroom, and I wake up to sirens in, just hearing them and seeing the colors through the little small window of our small little house. And I jump up on the tippy top of the bed, peer over the window, and my mother is in the front lawn of our house, and they're trying to resuscitate her, do whatever they can, but I think, and here's a part of the story that is still hard for me to comprehend, even though it is what I did. During the time between her falling asleep in the truck and me waking up to sirens, I had went outside and I had put a blanket over her in the truck thinking she's probably cold. Which she was, but not for the reason that I thought. And so when I seen them trying to resuscitate her, I thought back to myself, I think she had already been gone hours beforehand. But me being a 9.5-year-old, that's a lot to think about, a lot to process, and it made me mute for quite some time. When the time came that they finally told me, even though ultimately I had already knew, everyone sat me down, said, listen, your mom's gone, and I'm sitting there like just, my mind had already been completely wiped, and just, I felt like a shell of a kid. I said, oh, I know. And nobody knew what to say. I didn't even know what to say. I just I just blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. So, fast forward a little bit to, her funeral and everything. I felt so numb because of everything I had been through with us as a family. I just didn't know. I just didn't know what to do, how to feel. And no, I did not cry at her funeral. And it sounds terrible. And it's not that I don't miss her. It's not that I didn't appreciate her as a mother for what she tried to do from time to time. But the thing of it is, nobody understands. Nobody on her side of the family, I don't think, quite grasp what I witnessed as a child. And it's hard because I love my mother's side of the family. I do. But it's hard because they don't understand why I am the way I am. They don't understand why I struggle with, suicidal thoughts. They don't understand why I struggle with self-image issues. And they don't understand why I am so open about my past and why I think it needs to be said. To be honest, the more you talk about something, the better it makes you feel. And that is what I've been told most of my life. And I didn't believe it up until probably my high school days, because I started going to other high schools and speaking and really figuring out what I can and can't, what I can do to help myself. And with that, I am very glad that you were here to watch and listen. This was my part 1 of my personal experience stories. We will continue with these, in the next few videos. I will kind of mix and match my videos, obviously. And I'm going to end with a quote, what I'm hoping to do as per usual. And it is, if you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else up. And that is by Booker T. Washington. And with that, I want to thank you, and I hope you guys keep believing in a better life.